and myself representing the People's Organization for Progress, when we came together, the federal holiday hadn't been proclaimed, and we didn't know it was going to be proclaimed. Historically, the People's Organization for Progress has had a reparations march and rally every year. And every year, we planned our march and rally the week following Juneteenth so that we would not conflict with the Juneteenth celebrations going on throughout the state and around the community. But Ryan Haygood approached me and said, Brother Ham, let's co-sponsor this year, and would you be willing to move it on Juneteenth? And I conferred with the members of the People's Organization for Progress, and they were in full agreement. And I'm so glad that we made that decision, because now our demonstration for reparations is on the Juneteenth holiday, and that's the way it should be. So why are we here today? Why did we call this demonstration? We call this demonstration because we demand reparations for the descendants of those Africans that were enslaved in the United States of America. We demand reparations. And in line with that demand, programmatically, we are supporting particular pieces of legislation. Today, we are here to call for the passage of A711 and S322, which would create a reparations commission for the state of New Jersey. And why should New Jersey have a reparations commission? Because New Jersey had slavery. That's why New Jersey should have a reparations commission. New Jersey, as a colony, was founded in 1620. By 1625, enslaved African people were here. And our other major demand today is for the passage of H.R. 40. H.R. 40 is the legislation that was initially introduced by Congressman John Conyers in 1989, and he reintroduced that legislation every session of Congress until he left the Congress. H.R. 40 also calls for the establishment of a National Reparations Commission, not just to study the issue of reparations, but to, in fact, make concrete proposals to Congress on how reparations should take place in the United States. And the bill number has historic significance. You know why it's H.R. 40, right? Because we want our 40 acres and a mule.
John Deere.
That's right.
Freedom mule.
And where does that originate from? The demand for 40 acres comes from the period of enslavement. General Sherman introduced General Order Number 15. And with General Order Number 15, 400,000 acres of slave masters' land was confiscated and distributed to the enslaved. And inspired by General Order Number 15, Congressman Thaddeus Stevens, who was one of the radical Republicans, introduced H.R. 29, which would give 40 acres and $50 to every enslaved person. But you know what happened shortly thereafter? Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and his vice president, Andrew Johnson, took his place. And Andrew Johnson, although from one of the border states, Tennessee, was a Southern sympathizer, and he immediately returned the land that had been confiscated to the slave masters, and he blocked any attempts at the passage of H.R. 29. But they just temporarily stalled it, because we're here today to demand reparations, and we're not going to quit that fight until it's realized. So that being said, I just want to read quickly through the list of co-sponsors of today's action, Of course, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, the People's Organization for Progress, the City of Newark, the NAACP New Jersey State Conference, Newark Branch NACP, United Black Agenda, Salvation and Social Justice, ACLU, Bethany Baptist Church, Soma Action, Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Montclair, New Jersey Citizen Action, Ironbound Corporation, Blue Wave New Jersey, Our Revolution New Jersey, YWCA New Jersey, New Jersey Black Issues Convention, Rutgers Newark, New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, Newark Public Library, Make the Road New Jersey, NCDN, somebody have to tell me what that means, Urban League of Essex County, Black Lives Matter Patterson, Association of Black Women Lawyers of New Jersey Peace Action, New Jersey Industrial Union Council, New Community Corporation, and the Diocese of New Jersey. Those are most of the sponsors. Give all the sponsors that decided to take a stand for reparations today. And you know, there's some in the legislature that are scared of the word reparations. But we're here today to say the word. 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 My name is Larry Ham. I'm chairman of the People's Organization for Progress. I'm the MC for this portion of the program, and I have a task today. My task is to get this march going by 1 o'clock. That's our task today. So we have a long list of speakers, and this was not my personal decision. It was a collective decision that each speaker should limit themselves to 2 minutes. That's the only way we're going to get through this and get the march going. Don't you want march by 1 o'clock? How many people want march by 1 o'clock? How many people agree that 2 minutes is enough? All right, so let's get it on. The first person I want to introduce is Pastor Tim Jones of Bethany Baptist Church. Give him a big hand. Thank you, Brother Ham. You asked a Baptist preacher to go first for 2 minutes, so I'm doing my best. As we've come to celebrate Juneteenth on today, I don't want to miss the fact that tomorrow is also a day in which we celebrate our fathers. And so at Bethany, we'll be celebrating Reparations Sunday and indeed Father's Day as well. And I had to take a second to say I had to thank my dad, because if it were not for my dad, there's no way I would be here. There's no way I would be committed to this fight for justice. He put that in me a long time ago. And so I want to share a little wisdom that my dad has shared with me through the years. He's told me a lot of things. Kill them with kindness. He told me if you have a happy wife, you might have a happy life. He told me make sure you cut off all the lights and lock the doors before you go to bed. A whole lot of things. But one of the things my dad made sure to tell me was, don't ever play in somebody's face. Don't ever get in somebody's face and act like the truth isn't what the truth is, and continue to act as if reality isn't reality. And so we've come today to say we're sick and tired of folk playing in our faces as if to ask for reparations is really that big deal. As if to ask for reparations is something that we aren't already owed. And as to ask for reparations and a Reparations Task Force isn't something that couldn't easily be done. I'm sick of people playing in our faces as if the gross disparities we face today aren't directly tied to slavery and all of the other oppressive systems that have happened throughout the years. I'm sick of folks playing in our faces as if it's not possible in one of the richest states in this entire country to work out plans and policies that will begin to repair what indeed is in front of us. I'm sick of acting as if it's not possible to dream, and folk playing in our faces not to give us what we're owed. Folk need to stop playing in our faces, and even Governor Murphy, I appreciate what you do, but stop playing in our face as if an economics task force is the same as a reparations task force. It's not the same. Say the word. I'll close with a joke my dad tells over and over. He says, Tim, when I was in school, I didn't go to recess. I said, Dad, why didn't you go to recess? He said, Tim, because I don't play. And so we've gathered today to say we're not playing about this. We're not playing about this action. We're not playing about what we want. But we're here to get what we are owed. Say the word. Thank you. The pastor. Give him a big hand. He stuck to, is Keisha Yuri here? Keisha Yuri is not here. Okay, in the place of Keisha Yuri, I'm going to ask former Assemblyman Bill Payne to come and say just a few words. He was one of the co-sponsors of the Amistad Black History legislation. Give him a big hand. I think he deserves a minute, don't you? 2 minutes, Bill.
2 minutes. All right. I'll take the 2 minutes just to say that everything that we've done to make this country what it is a secret right now. What we need to do is make sure that every child, black, white, pink, or whatever they are, learns about the contributions that African Americans have made to the development of this country. That we should not give up on that. And then 20 years ago is when I introduced the legislation to say that African American contributions to the development of this country should be taught to all children. One of the things I find is that many people in parts of the state of New Jersey they say, well, we don't have any black students, why should we teach it? Well, you should teach it because blacks help make this country what it is. And if it wasn't for the contribution we made, and I think we need all to learn that even at the Battle of Bunker Hill, black soldiers fought there. They never teach that to us. As a matter of fact, there was Peter Salem, a black soldier at the Battle of Bunker Hill, who killed Major Pitcairn. We were there, but they take it out of the textbook. Our children need to know, and others need to know, that this country is ours. I'm not willing to give up any bit of this country because it's ours. We came up with blood plaza when they needed it. When the Civil War came, we fought in the Civil War. They want us to think we stood on the sidelines while they fought. We fought in the Civil War for our freedom. Everybody needs to know that. Black and white must know that. And what every single one of you have to do is understand, number one, the Amistad is the law of the state of New Jersey, and it's up to us, whether we have kids in the school, must go to every single Board of Education meeting in the state of New Jersey and say, we know it's the law, and you need to teach it here. We cannot sit on the sidelines anymore and let them get away with it. It is the law of the state of New Jersey. Our children need to know that that traffic light even came out of a black mind, all right? We need to know that blood plasma came from a black doctor. They need to teach that so that our children will hold their heads up high, and say, well, this is ours too. So I'm asking you, please spread the word to everybody that you know that this is the law of the state of New Jersey. As a matter of fact, it should be the law of the country. So please tell your representatives to make sure that they support it. It's our country as well. Don't forget it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Give him a big hand. Our next speaker is Zaid Muhammad from Newark Communities for Accountable Policing. Zaid Muhammad. Come on now. You got to walk faster than that. Yes, it is. Because for years, the People's Organization for Progress has been sounding the drum for reparations. So out of honor and respect, young folks, for your elders, give the People's Organization for Progress a round of applause. All right? Say the word. Y'all sounding punky to me. You're not carrying your ancestors. Say the word. Say the word. Say the word. Say the word. In the few minutes that I have here, I wanted to just share some of the importance of embracing what we call in the spiritual science of struggle, the feminine principle. Because you see, reparations is the grandmother of restorative justice. I know some of y'all in 501c3 land think y'all invented something. But I must tell you, you stand on the shoulders of a great black woman by the name of Belinda, who sued for reparations in the 18th century. You stand on the shoulders of black women like Callie House, who sued on the question of reparations in the 19th century. Right? You stand on the shoulders of a bold black woman who walked with the great Marcus Garvey by the name of Queen Mother Moore, who was the modern mother of the reparations movement. Those are the kind of shoulders that you stand on. And so it's important to understand the relevance and the importance of this energy. Because the feminine principle, and men don't get this twisted, the feminine principle will not only hold you accountable for what was wrong and for what you did, but it's the feminine principle that would give you the space to heal for where healing needs to be done. So we have to understand that reparations is about repairing the damage of a colossal crime against humanity that was the enslavement of our ancestors and the residual legacy that continues to have black people oppressed and shot down in these streets like a dog. The time has
for folks like us to get together and to stay together more. This is the most mixed audience of reparations we've seen in a long time. If there's those of my folks, I got it. For those of our folks who are part of the mix, not only do you come to situations like this because Ryan Hagan and Larry Ham told you to do so, but we need you to dare to speak to your uncles and your mothers and your grandfathers and all that racist stuff and back there behind us up and make white folks around the country stand up as a matter of principle for the questions of reparations so this country can heal from the colossal crime of what it did to our ancestors. And I'll rhyme with this. I'll rhyme with this. There's no way I'm going to talk about this without talking about the redemption and the release of our freedom fighters. Because this modern notion of truth and reconciliation, you may know it from South Africa, but you may not know that from here it comes from Dr. Mutulu Shakur, the stepfather of Tupac Shakur, one of our political prisoners and healers who has been in prison since 1986. So we say, as a matter of goodwill, if the reparations question is going to be taken serious, they should be taken seriously first as a matter of principle with the release of our political prisoners. Right? So with that, I leave you. We say hold to the streets. We say shut them down. We say reparations now. All power to the people.
I'm going to ask the speakers to please try and stay to your 2 minutes. No, seriously. We're not going to get out of here on time if you don't. Give a hand to Ryan Haygood from the Institute for Social Justice. Raise your hand, Ryan. The next speaker is Deborah Smith Gregory from the Newark ACP. Give her a big hand. Deborah Smith Gregory.
On June 16th, a historic piece of legislation was passed in the House and the Senate, the Juneteenth National Independence Holiday. Essentially, it is now law, even though the President just signed off on it to make it law throughout the land. Juneteenth, that day in 1865 when slaves in Texas learned of their freedom 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But we must be accurate with our history. The 13th Amendment actually freed all slaves, not just the southern states, and upheld the law. Today it is a holiday. We say the next step is reparations. Say the word. Repair the harm, the breach that was made against the humanity of Africans in America, forced into enslavement, whose labor built this country. Reparations, the 40 acres and a mule. We want a horse now. That was promised by the federal government. That debt was never fully paid. While we recognize the significance of Juneteenth, we also recognize the irony. These are the same lawmakers who will not ratify the George Floyd policing bill or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, or even more locally refuse to embed subpoena and investigative review boards across this state. The NAACP says that if there's going to be true reconciliation, we must begin to explore the process of what reparations look like, what it entail, and how it will be manifested into a reality, not a promise, a reality. To repair the scars of torture, rape. Studies are still conducted in New Jersey to figure out how to implement this curriculum to all school children. We demand reparations not in the next century, but in this generation. So my 12-year-old granddaughter standing here with me can realize reparations in her lifetime. Say the word. Say the word. Say the word.
Thank you. Once again, I'm asking the speakers to please stay within your 2 minutes. The next speaker is Danielle Coombs from the NAACP State Conference. Danielle, give her a big hand.
Reparations. Say the word. Reparations. My name is Danielle Combs and I serve as the Administrative Director for the NAACP New Jersey State Conference. I bring you greetings on behalf of my President and member of the NAACP National Board of Directors, Richard T. Smith. In the words of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson of Texas, when asked about reparations, she said, "Why not and why not now?" Reparations are powerful not only economically, but spiritually and morally. They carry an inherent acknowledgement of a wrong that was done and a debt that is owed on the willingness and part of this nation's to pay it. It is impossible to imagine America without the inheritance of slavery. Black people, we don't need another apology. What we need is safer schools, safer neighborhoods, a less punitive criminal justice system, better jobs, better health care. We don't need another apology. We need what? Reparations. Black people are the only group that can singularly claim to have been slaves under the hands of the United States government. And we are here today. What we are doing is not a symbolic action, but we are asking that legitimate legislation, more specifically A711 and S322, be passed and signed into law. Elected officials are running around the state talking about how they see things through the lens of civil rights and social justice. And I say that sounds real good, but you have to prove it. So what do we need? What do we need? Just as Black Americans have experienced the lingering effects of the slave system, we are asking that these bills be passed into law and we can have reparations. Thank you.
Give her a big hand. 1 minute 33 seconds. Give her a big hand. The next speaker is Vivian Cox Frazier from the Urban League of Essex County. Give her a hand.
All right, what do we need? Reparations. Look, I'm here representing the Urban League of Essex County, and I want to say the Urban League fights for economic advancement for Black people, and we've been doing it for over 100 years. But let's be clear, we've been enslaved for over 400 years. And when the slaves first came to this country, they didn't have, our wealth was zero. When the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, our wealth was zero. Yeah. We were promised 40 acres and a mule, and you know how much 40 acres and a mule are worth today? $6.5 trillion. So we want our reparations. What do we want? Reparations. Thank you.
24 seconds.
She made a claim. She won claim.
The next speaker, and I'm confused. Is it Amina or is it Frederica? Is it Amina or Frederica? Give Sister Frederica Bay a hand. She's here. But Amina Bay, her daughter is going to speak. Come on, Amina.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. My name is Amina Bay, and on behalf of our Executive Director and my mother, Frederica Bay, I represent women in support of the Million Man March, and we are here to say the word, reparations. I personally am so incredibly blessed because I've always known I was free. I knew I was free because I had a mother who was free, who raised me to be free, to know my rights, to know my worth. She filled in the educational gaps for me and for my sister when the school system failed us and didn't teach us who we were. She taught us who we were. We have a responsibility to teach our children so they know and understand why we're here today. This is not about a holiday. It's not about a t-shirt. It's not about a hashtag. This is about justice. This is about overdue justice. This is about social justice. It's about economic justice. It's about freedom. Okay, so we need to make sure that we pass this along. It doesn't stop with today. This is not an event. This is a movement. It is not a moment. So we are here to say the word reparations. Power to the people. Yay!
1 minute 15 seconds. Is Dr. Ron Daniels in the house? Dr. Ron Daniels? He's not here. I'm going to call Newark's official historian, Junius Williams, for 2 minutes. Give him a hand. Junius Williams. North Star. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Larry and I were talking yesterday
said to him, if I catch anybody going to the beach on Juneteenth, I'm going to stop them. So I know we're not going to have to worry about this group. So y'all going to be with me to go out on that parkway, because we should be here protesting, studying, learning. And that's what we're doing here today. Now I'm going to start my 2 minutes. You see, people say there is no way to prove that we are entitled. Well, I got a simple way. We're going to prove it right here. We don't need a study commission. I want you to say the name. I want you to say, if you know anybody who is homeless, say that person's name. If they're about to be kicked out of their house, if they don't have anywhere to stay, if they're staying with families, say their name. If you know somebody who went to school who has a large sum of money to pay back, if they can't get a house because they're paying off that student loan, say their name, say your name. And if you know somebody who's been beat by the police, if they've been stomped on by the police, if they've been put in jail because they don't belong there, if they've been put in jail for a small little piece of marijuana, and now you're bringing in all of these white folks from out of town who are going to make billions of dollars now that marijuana is legal, say their name. So you see, there's a whole lot of proof right here. And if they have to go and look for somebody to prove that, the people can prove it. We don't need another commission.
Wow.
We need reparations.
Right.
So if we want to have that done, it's going to be up to us to make that happen. So I therefore find that the state of New Jersey is guilty. State of New Jersey is guilty, and they owe an indeterminate amount of money, soon to be determined what that is, in reparations. And I ask that you justify and validate that conviction by just saying amen. Amen, amen again. Amen. I rest my case. All right. 153. Give me a hand.
Thank you, Junius Williams, speaking in place of Dr. Ron Daniels. You know, somebody challenged me. They said, Pop ain't been celebrating reparations this long. Sister Charlotte just gave me a leaflet. This is a leaflet from 1992 POP reparations celebration. We called for a day of absence in 1992 for reparations. Okay, let's get back to the program. Is Safia Jenkins here? Safia, come on. Give him a hand. Safia Jenkins. Thank you, Brother Larry Ham. If you're daring enough and bold enough to declare that you deserve it, somebody say a word. If you are bold enough to declare that after all of the systemic oppression that has taken place, it has rendered you poor and out of touch with the economic system that thrives around you, say the word. And now my 2 minutes starts. In Ecclesiastes, because not only am I Vice President of the Newark Special Education Parent Action Council, but I'm also a preacher. And so I dare declare that right now I'm going to go scriptural on you, okay? We're talking about where's the evidence. It goes from way back then. I got old and new, all right? In Ecclesiastes it says, I sat and learned from under the sun. And I returned and saw that the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to everybody. But Matthew follows up and says, but he who endures until the end shall be saved. If anybody understands what endurance looks like, it's the people who have been oppressed, abused, neglected, and yet still the most envied, most emulated community throughout all of the free world today. Say a word. They whipped us and they enslaved us in chains, and we endured. Say a word. They burned down our cities because they couldn't stand the progress that we made. Say the word. They hosed us down and sent attack dogs after us all in the street signature. Because the only place where your signature matters to me, the only place where your signature matters to everybody standing here today is on the bottom left-hand corner of my check. So I need you to grab your pens and throw your hands in the air. And I dare you to say the word. Say the word. Thank you, Pastor. Give him a hand. Once again, I'm asking the speakers to stay within your 2-minute limit. Amol Sinha. Amol, there he is. ACLU, give him a hand. Thank you, Larry.
How am I supposed to follow a pastor?
Amen.
Amen. That's how you do it. All right. Well, look, I appreciate that our nation and our state has taken steps to recognize Juneteenth, a date that black people in this country have long held and remembered as a federal holiday. But doing so without first pursuing reparations, ending police violence, ending the war on drugs, the country is trying to jump to reconciliation without ever confronting truth.
Well,
Juneteenth is indeed a celebration. But at its core, one reason Juneteenth is commemorated is because people finally got the truth that they deserved. Information wasn't shared, government wasn't transparent, white supremacy could divide and conquer and continue to persist, and justice was delayed and denied. Our country's memory is short, and we seem to have a collective amnesia because we haven't learned our lesson. Indeed, we're continuing to deliberately deny information and deny the truth. While we're honoring and commemorating Juneteenth as a nation, schools are still being told that they can't teach about racism in America. They want you to believe that the war on drugs is a thing of the past, but we know it's alive and well, and it's continuing to cause immeasurable damage to our communities. Our prisons in New Jersey have the worst racial disparities in the country, and our police, the very origin of which was slave patrols to capture enslaved people, are continuing to impose injustice after injustice to evade accountability while being shrouded in secrecy. The ACLU and our partners across the state, including the People's Organization for Progress and the Institute for Social Justice, we're working on all of this, holding government accountable and seeking truth. Police accountability and transparency is about seeking truth. Education is about seeking truth. Juneteenth is about seeking truth. And when we see, we remember. When we acknowledge the history, we remember. When we write down the harms, we remember. Truth and reconciliation. But we can't forget that we can't get to reconciliation without confronting the truth. While I'm here in my capacity as the head of the ACLU, I'm also here as a South Asian man. And this is important. To my black brothers and sisters, I say this. I know the injustices I experience cannot compare to those that black folks experience in this country. I know the privilege I hold, and as a civil rights leader, I approach every space with humility, and I stand on the shoulders of black solidarity for South Asians. Indeed, my family was only able to come into this country in 1965 after a bill was passed on the heels of the civil rights movement demanding equality for all. If white supremacy had its way, it would divide and conquer us, and it has tried. It's created an unjust racial hierarchy, and it's my job to be here with you to disrupt it. The very existence of Juneteenth shows us how quickly freedom can be stopped when truth is denied, and as we seek to address centuries-old injustices to break down the cycle of repeating history, we must remember Juneteenth's essential lesson. Justice must be on time, and it must be in the full light of day. Thank you, and say the word.
Thank you. Once again, I want to urge the speakers to stay within the 2 minutes. I would urge those of you who are speaking to get to your main point. Like all the preamble has been said already. Get to the main point that you're trying to make, and make it. Esther Carrera from Make the Road, New Jersey. Esther Carrera.
Good afternoon.
everyone. I'm Esther Carrera. I am 18 years old and I'm a high school senior in Elizabeth. I am a youth leader from Make the Road, New Jersey. Thank you so much for giving me the space to speak today. We are all here today in solidarity calling for reparation. And I am here alongside other young people calling for counselors, not cops in school. As far back as kindergarten, I remember seeing security guards in my schools, police stationed outside, and I thought this was completely normal. Please, if you have guards or police or metal detectors in your school, raise your hands. In my school in Elizabeth, there are 7 security guards, 3 guidance counselors, and 1 nurse that rotates between all the schools. I am a senior, and in these past 4 years, I've only met with my counselor 4 times. They have huge caseloads, but I need both hands to tell you how many times I've been yelled at by a security guard. I used to struggle to make more sense between the schools in majority white neighborhoods in New Jersey that there are no security guards and police. Even though we know that there's trauma by policing that has caused the black and brown community, there's students that will walk into school on Monday to see security guards and police waiting at every corner, policing them, not making sure they're safe, but watching them, policing them. They're always ready to yell, "Keep it moving," and "Let me see your bag." Real safety for black and brown students doesn't come in the form of school police or security guards. It comes to access to more resources, to more programs, to more counselors, to mental health. After a year of a global pandemic where students of color have lost their family members, jobs, and so much more, schools have to be a healing place. We've all gone through such an incredibly traumatic year. That means we need counselors, social workers, nurses in every single schools. Mental health programming, quality lunch, college access, post-secondary success programming, all access internships. How do we get there? Ask your school to let you know what the American Rescue Funds and how they're going to use it. Please, if you attend at a black and brown school with a guard, please join our youth leaderships meetings every Monday and sign a petition. Thank you so much.
Give a big hand. Once again, I'm urging the speakers to stay within the 2-minute limit. We are making good progress. We're getting close to the bottom of the list. Solomon Williams from Newark Community Street Team. Solomon Williams, your man. Say the word! Say the word!
Let me say this. So, if you guys don't know this, the state of New Jersey has a $10 billion surplus from last year. We have about 1 million African Americans in the state of New Jersey. We want, say the word?
Cut the check. We don't want nothing else.
Cut the check. I'm sorry, 1 second. So we are here today to urge state lawmakers to pass S322 A711 to establish the Reparations Task Force. My hope is that you came here today highly informed on why we are calling for the passage of this important bill. However, if you are not informed, let me remind you of 1619, a failed attempt to break the soul of an African continent. This America waged a war on African people. 1868, we gained the access to vote. We built thriving communities, while Americans plotted to destroy our communities. Chicago, Washington, D.C., Memphis, Tulsa, and still you fell. Jim Crow failed. The war on drugs failed. Over incarceration failed. America, you have spent trillions of dollars trying to break the soul of the African people. But today, here we stand. Say the word. Meanwhile, here in New Jersey, our lawmakers sit here quietly as they continue the war on the African people. Today, we say no more. We're calling for New Jersey to take a stand against hate and begin to repair the harm it has done. Let me close on this. In 2020, at the height of the pandemic, an elected official, while handing out food to residents, explained to me that the poor always want things for free. let me respond to you publicly. What we want is safer neighborhoods. What we want is trauma recovery centers, a place to resolve conflicts, equal housing, affordable health care, affordable college for all, time served, time done, and access to employment. What do we want?
Give Brother Solomon a hand. He stayed in his 2 minutes. Thank you, brother. The next speaker is Sue Altman from Working Families.
Hey everyone, I am so proud and honored and humbled and inspired to be here standing in solidarity with all of you. Reparations is justice. We must continue this fight towards justice. These same elected officials that close schools, that privatize our city's assets, that keep public voices from contributing to the discourse on how New Jersey spends its money, the same public officials that keep the gates to democracy closed for the people, these are the folks who need to hear this message. And we must say it loud, reparations, we must say it often, reparations, so that we can begin to face the legacy of injustice and oppression that Black Americans have faced in this country for centuries. So thank you so much for all of your work, all of your sacrifice, all of this time, all of these generations. Thank you.
She stayed in she was like under a minute. Say the word. Say the word. Say the word. Sean Spiller, Vice President, New Jersey Education Association. Give him a hand.
Well, listen, I just want to start by saying, as the first Black male president of NJEA, the leader, thank you, it's important, the leader in a community that is so passionate about fighting for social justice and the work that happens here today, I am so happy to see this diverse crowd out, because we know that all of us need to stand up and speak out and say the word, reparations. I could not be more proud to be working in this fight with our President, Marie Bliston, our Secretary-Treasurer, Steve Beatty, Al Bieber, and so many of our staff, because we know as educators how important it is for our students to learn about how important this is. As a Black man, I feel how important it is for our students to learn and know this. So yes, we stand here today because we know this pandemic has been devastating, but it has laid bare the inequalities, the inequities that have existed in our systems and our institutions, the racism that exists, that we must fight for and we must change. And this is an opportunity. The nation is finally watching and learning and understanding that this is the moment that we need to see change. But it will not just happen. We must all remain committed. We must all march. We must all speak up. We must all speak out and say the word, reparations. It is a fight that continues, but we know how important that work is. So I just will say this, I know that you are committed to doing this. I know that we all need to take advantage of this moment. We have an obligation. It has been too long, hundreds of years, and we know the impact that this is having on Black Americans. We see how many youth are incarcerated. We see how many students are victims to that school-to-prison pipeline. We know the challenges that are there, but we are the ones that can fix it. So I say to all of you, we stand together, we do the work, because we know that we can get it done together, and it starts by saying the word, reparations. Thank you very much.
See, that's how he became president. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Next is my friend of many years in the labor movement, my brother, Charles Hall, President, Local 108 Retail Workers Union.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. I think we've heard all of the history lessons. There's some really great people out here, Citizen Action, NAACP, the former mayor of Maplewood, a city that makes examples, Reverend Roundtree, and the history is here. We know that it's the time for reparations. We also know it's the right thing to do, right? It's no question about it. It's the right thing to do, all right? And my hat's off to Pop and Bill Payne and the other pioneers in our great city, the Mayor Baraka, and who were trailblazers all along. They put the work in. My brothers and sisters from labor, NJEA. I mean, listen, we are a force to be reckoned with. But make no mistake about it, right? The other side is a force to be reckoned with, and they want to divide, conquer, separate us, right, to keep their agenda going, right? I just don't want to say it's simply about racism. For them, it's about holding us down so they can keep power. That's what it's about. This is a serious fight for them. And if we don't continue to march and say the word, reparations, and say the word, reparations, some of our black legislators right here in this state will vote against the bill. They will. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing about we love you, we want to do for you. I'm tired of hearing about it. Right? And we ought to deal with those kind of folks and put somebody else in their place. Yes. Free union books. Right? We need to put somebody else in their place. And happy Juneteenth, everybody. That's right. But I think Mr. Williams said it best. Shame on you if you're at the beach. Shame on you, because it's about history, it's about education, it's about a people's struggle, and shame on you if you're at the beach. Right? I couldn't even get my car to go in that direction today. Right? What am I doing as the chairman of the African American Heritage Parade? We're putting on a Juneteenth event with speakers to teach the children and the adults in that neighborhood what Juneteenth means. And I went up to 2 minutes. So thank you, brothers and sisters.
Give my hand. We almost there, almost there. Assemblyman Charles Barron is Assemblyman Charles Barron. He's not here, but I want to salute him. He got his reparations commission bill passed by the New York Assembly. Give him a big hand. Assemblyman is Carol Gay, Industrial Union Council. Carol Gay, Industrial Union Council. Here. Hurry up, hurry up.
Run. 2 minutes. Go on.
We want union books. Open up them union books.
All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. It is so good to be with you all today, and the IUC is always proud to stand with POP. We've been a long time affiliate of POP and Working Families and others here today. This is how we do it. This is how we do it, all of us marching in coalition together. And I don't need to say that it is reparations are way past due. This has just been too long in coming. It is so far past due. Not just reparations, we're talking, police reform, criminal justice reform, mass incarceration. All of these issues need to be dealt with boldly, and now the time is way past due. So let's do it together. Solidarity. Power to the people.
Power to the people. Reparations now. Minister Abdul Haq, Nation of Islam, Mosque number 25. We're almost done. We're gonna make our goal. We're gonna make our goal. 2 minutes.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, as we gather here today to celebrate what our ancestors called Juneteenth, Liberation Day and Freedom Day, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has asked us a question. He said, are you free or are you simply a slave without a master? He said, are you free or are you simply a slave with a master? Because black people in America was in bondage to white people for so long that our concept of freedom became nearness or closeness to them. And the closer we are to them, the more freer we think we are. And that's why John Henry Clark said, when you start black history from slavery, everything else looks like progress. That's why Frederick Douglass said, you say you have emancipated us, but when you turned us loose, you gave us no land. He said, you turned us loose to the sky, to the storm, to the whirlwind. And worst of all, you turned us loose to our infuriated slave masters. That's why Kwame Ture said that in order to understand white supremacy, we must dismiss the fallacious notion that white people could give anybody their freedom. That's why James Baldwin said that the American idea of racial progress is measured by how fast you can become white. That's why the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we want freedom. We want a full and complete freedom. That's why the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we believe that the black man should be freed in name as well as in fact. By this we mean that he should be freed from the names imposed upon him by his former slave masters. Names which identified him as being a slave master slave. Because if we are free indeed, we should go in our own people's names, the black people of the earth. Ralph Wiley said this. He said, give me the free labor of one black person for 1 year, I would be a rich man. He said, give me the free labor for a dozen black people for 1 year, I would be a very rich man. He said, give me the free labor of millions of black people for 250 years, then I would be America. So with all due respect, until America gives us land that we can call our own, we'll never be free, but we'll simply be slaves without masters. Thank you.
See that? You see that? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Say the word. Say the word. The last speaker is Justin Goldman here. Our revolution is Justin Goldman. He's not here. Justin Goldman. Justin Goldman's not here. Going once, going twice. We made our 1 o'clock goal. All right, now listen. Listen. First of all, before I say anything else, I want to say what a pleasure it has been to work with the Institute for Social Justice. This relationship we built in pulling this together. Give the whole staff of New Jersey Institute and their executive director a big hand. Give him a big hand. You're going to hear from him down at City Hall. Now listen, we want people to line up. We got banners. We're going to bring the banners out of the car. We got 40 banners. We need 40 people to carry 40 banners. All the banners relate to today's theme of Juneteenth, reparations, etc. So we're going to get the banners, we're going to line up, and then we're going to march. Grab a water, hydrate. You want a pop shirt, you want to buy a pop shirt, Ingrid's here. You want a reparations shirt, see Ryan or Andrea. We're getting ready to march.
Please stay tuned to our live stream. We'll be going live as we do the march to City Hall, and then the live stream will restart once we arrive at City Hall.
Wait, hold on.
Thank you so much.